So we have seen from the simple design the main object, the boundary conditions, it's a limit. So now the problem parameter. When you start designing with QuickField, you have a possibility to choose the accuracy of the simulation. Oops. So it's in the bottom left of my screen. So we have different accuracy, precision, draft, normal or height. So here I choose the axisymmetric class model of QuickField and a length unit of millimeter. So in fact, you have mainly three parameters that are important. But the most important, in my opinion, is a draft, is a precision parameter. So now, what about LabelMover tips? So I have to tell you a few words about LabelMover first. Okay, LabelMover is in fact an interface, a graphical interface that allows you to define a sweep of parameters from a design. So you just have to ask for a value to be calculated, the step. Here it's simply a plunger movement that we are requiring. And then at the end, you have the result. So here it's a force stroke characteristics of one of the design I showed you a few minutes ago. But to prepare the use of LabelMover, we have to use a few tips. For instance, here you can see that I have defined the length of the stroke or the stroke itself. But to do that, I need to use some geometry parts of the design. It's not here, but I'll show it to you. So here is an edge or a line or a segment that is not useful for the simulation. But each time the plunger will move, this segment will change automatically its length, and it allows to have the force stroke characteristic directly in LabelMover. But it's important to prepare the label, the geometry of the design to use LabelMover. So that's why you can see a few labels here that are useful to the geometry variation. So the sample tips is just to prepare the geometry, but you will understand this later. Because here, in fact, we don't have the complete geometry of the design. So what about designing a plunger? The thing we need is a datasheet first. Then we will see how to start some calculation, and then the example of the design of them. There is many things to be discussed, such as parameter sweeping with LabelMover, which is more complex than what I said to you. We can also talk about sweeping with TCL-scripts. TCL is a script language that allows you to do many important things or many complex things. And then the use of a computer algebra system, which is about the use of data that is exported by QuickField. For instance, to explain to you what we can do with a script is such an example. Now, we have discussed, or I have discussed, about LabelMover with a piece of software to interface with QuickField, but we can also use the command line possibility to drive QuickField. So you can use TCL or the scripts language, I think. Now, this is an example of TCL-scripts. This line, called the LabelMover, this line defines some name or unit, and this group of line is looping on some parameters, just as do LabelMover, but at the same moment, at the same time, you can do calculation because, for instance, you can calculate current density, which you cannot do with the LabelMover. And then, after you have made your calculation, exactly like with LabelMover, you can build a file that can be read by some of your tool. I mean, MatLab or MathCAD or other. For instance, here I've used Derive. So after you have made your calculation, you can have a file like this. And so you can see your units have defined the data given by QuickField. I mean, I've driven QuickField using this language, TCL. So you can have a matrix. So you can see that QuickField will give you, LabelMover will give you the force, the bobbin monitor matrix force, the radius of the core section of the bobbin. You can have it too as a source too, but you cannot have the current density. And the current density is very useful because you don't have to be over a certain value, or else the current will be too high. And then it's easy to draw this. Okay, now so you have some parameters that have changed, and you can directly have the result of one of your software you use. It's just an example of what you can do with TCL and with the LabelMover.